My mother's trusted advisor ran off with our life savings, so I chased him across 3 states to make him pay. What I discovered about my own family shattered everything. It began on the afternoon of my mother's 65th birthday. We gathered in her sunlit kitchen, balloons, homemade lemon cake, and a scattering of family photographs. She beamed as I set down a latte beside her favorite wicker rocking chair. "Mom, thank you for everything, sweetie. I wouldn't be where I am without John." John Fielding was her financial planner of 10 years, a man in a crisp suit who greeted her by name, brought pastries, and promised steady returns. He'd handled her retirement fund, her children's college accounts, and grandma's inheritance. Every quarter he delivered robust statements and strategic advice. Mom trusted him implicitly. Mom raised her coffee in a toast. To new beginnings, I joined her glass. To John. But 2 weeks later, the new beginning turned sour. Mom called me in tears early one Monday. "Mom, he's gone. His office is empty. His phone disconnected." My heart sank. "What do you mean?" "Mom, John's assistants say he left, just vanished, and they can't access my account now." I hurried over. The office door was padlocked. A receptionist's note taped to the window read, "All appointments canceled. Please call our main line." The line was dead. I scanned the glossy chairs, the artful brochures, now hollow promises. In John's place, a sticky note. "Out of the office. Be back soon." It was clear. He wasn't coming back. Back at Mom's house, I logged into her brokerage account. The balance blinked at me in stark red. $1,200,000. Once our family's safety net. Now zero. Me, whispering, "No, no." Mom hugged herself, sobbing. "He took everything." I pulled up old statements. Gradual transfers. Small at first, then escalating, funneled into an obscure LLC, Maple Ridge Holdings. The trail led nowhere. The LLC listed a mail drop address in rural Idaho and a nominee director with no online footprint. Me, "Mom, I'm going to find him." She shook her head. "It's gone, Sarah. There's nothing left." But I refused to accept defeat. I called Jake, an investigative journalist friend. Over dinner at our favorite diner, I laid out the plan. Me, "He crossed state lines. That's a federal crime. Wire fraud. I need leads." Jake, "I can dig records, property deeds, DMV filings, phone logs, but you'll have to hit the road." By dawn, I packed my car, laptop, notebooks, camouflage jacket, somewhere between business and bounty hunter. Mom slipped a worn photo into my glove compartment. Her and Dad on their wedding day, carefree smiles against a church backdrop. "Mom, bring him back." I kissed her cheek and pulled out onto Route 80 West. 6 hours later, I rolled into Twin Falls, Idaho. Google Maps led me to a dusty gravel road off Highway 93, Maple Ridge Ranch, the address on the LLC paperwork. A rusted sign swung in the breeze. I parked and approached the farmhouse, a weathered relic surrounded by barbed wire. No lights, no cars. I climbed over the fence and circled the back. A single window glowed. I knocked on the kitchen door. Voice through door. "Who is it?" Me, "Sarah Reynolds. I have business with John Fielding." Silence. Then the door creaked. On the other side stood a gaunt man with hollow eyes. John, his mustache untrimmed and hair mussed. He clutched a file folder. "John," hissing, "Stay back." Me, "You owe my mother everything. Where's our money?" He shook his head. "You don't understand the consequences." Me, "I'm listening." He hesitated, then closed the door. A dark confession. Through the glass, I watched John dig a key from his pocket and unlock the door. He ushered me inside. The kitchen was spare, a single burner stove, mismatched mugs, and that file folder emblazoned, "Fielding Confidential." "John, I didn't take your mother's money for myself. It's gone deeper." My pulse hammered. "Explain." He sank into a wooden chair. "Fielding Confidential. My family's secret. I needed to protect them. Me. My family? Or yours? John glanced at the file. Everything I managed for clients went to support my sister, diagnosed with leukemia, experimental treatments costing millions. My breath caught. So you stole to save her life? He nodded, tears welling. If I'd done the right thing, told you, maybe your mother could have helped. But I promised confidentiality. Me. You betrayed her. John. I had no choice. Mom's photo fell from my glove box. Her trusting smile. I felt torn between compassion and justice. That night, I called Mom. Me. Mom? It's not just theft. It's a desperate gamble. She was silent. Then, quietly, I understand wanting to save family. Me. He worked for you, for us, and risked everything. Mom, let's bring him home, then decide what comes next. I nodded through tears. I'll be there soon. I left Idaho at dawn, John's file in the passenger seat. The next leg, uncovering the extent of his outlays, where our millions flowed, and whether we could salvage what remained. Update 1. Back in Boise, Mom and I sat in a modest diner booth over coffee as Jake spread out the probate and trust records I'd secured from John's folder. The truth behind Maple Ridge Holdings began to crystallize, and with it, the scale of Mom's loss. John's file contained bank statements, wire confirmations, and internal memos. He'd moved funds into accounts tied to Henderson Oncology Trust in Tucson, Fielding Family Medical Fund in Cleveland, Suncrest Research, LLC in Boston. Each entity funneled millions to cover his sister Emily's leukemia treatment at specialized clinics. But as I scanned deposits and withdrawals, I saw red flags. Offshore transfers, large sums transferred to Cayman, and Swiss accounts flagged as, quote, research grants. Phantom expenses. Invoices for rare pharmaceuticals with no clear manufacturers. Rapid depletion. Within 18 months, John had spent nearly $3 million, our $1.2 million included, yet Emily's condition worsened. Mom, voice tight. He lied to me, Sarah. Me. He lied to all of us. But he was desperate. Jake chimed in. We need to map these entities, see who else was defrauded, and determine if any funds can be recovered. That afternoon, we tracked Emily's last known address in Tucson. Her apartment was sterile, medical records stacked on the table, chemo supplies in a corner. A neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, answered the door. Mrs. Alvarez. Emily. She left for Boston 2 months ago. Said she'd try a trial hospital there. I held back tears. Do you know if John paid her rent? Mrs. Alvarez. He covered everything. But she called last week, said she'd run out of options. My heart sank. The money had dried up just as Emily needed it most. Me. Thank you. We hurried back to the car. Mom gripped my hand. Mom, I want to help her. Me. We will. But first, we have to stop John from draining what's left. That evening, we consulted Avery and Burke, a local law firm specializing in fraud. Partner Harper Burke reviewed John's documents. Harper, John's wire fraud, moving funds in your mother's name, is criminal. We can file a civil suit against Maple Ridge Holdings and any accomplices for restitution. Federal prosecutors may pursue criminal charges for interstate fraud. Mom, I don't want him to rot in prison if he saved Emily's life. Harper, we can negotiate restitution and leniency. He'll face consequences, but we can seek repayment and perhaps set aside a portion for Emily, the Boston revelation. Fueled by Harper's guidance, Jake and I drove to Boston the next day to track down Suncrest Research, LLC. The address led to a sterile office park. The suite was empty, its nameplate removed. The building manager gave me a business card. Dr. Lydia Marks, former Suncrest director. We reached her by phone. Dr. Marks. Yes, I know John. He promised Suncrest funding for early-stage trials. The board approved preliminarily, but he never followed through to our accounts. Me. We have confirmation John wired funds offshore, not to Suncrest. Did he misdirect the payments? She hesitated. The grants never arrived. We never saw a cent. John's commitment letters remain unsigned by the trustees. Clutching the phone, I realized. John's desperation had not only betrayed my mother, but also dozens of researchers and patients awaiting new therapies. That night, over dinner in Tucson, Mom and I wrestled with what to do. She stared at her untouched cake from the diner. Mom. He risked everything for his sister, but he stole from me and from others. Me. We can't let him off easy, but we can structure restitution, ensuring Emily gets her remaining treatments and others get recompense. Mom nodded, tears in her eyes. Promise me we'll do right by both families. Me. I promise. Armed with John's digital ledger, Dr. Marx's testimony and bank documents, we prepared civil complaint seeking $3 million in restitution against Maple Ridge Holdings, Henderson Oncology Trust, and John Fielding personally. Restraining order, freezing any remaining assets in John's name or tied entities. Criminal referral, a dossier for federal prosecutors detailing interstate wire fraud, money laundering, and misappropriation. As I drafted calls, emailed subpoenas, and outlined the legal strategy with Harper, I realized the journey would span more states, more courts, and more secrets, revealing not just John's fall, but perhaps a deeper family betrayal. Update 2. 2 days after our Boston findings, we filed the civil complaint and obtained a temporary restraining order freezing all assets held by Maple Ridge Holdings and its affiliate accounts. With court papers in hand, our team spread out across the country to interview those defrauded and to gather the final clues to John's vanishing millions. Our next stop was Cleveland, where the Fielding Family Medical Fund had been incorporated. I flew in with Jake and Harper Burke. Mom arranged her sister June to accompany us for support. We arrived at a modest office suite in a business park, its nameplate now peeled away, window blinds drawn. Inside, receptionist Marcy Phillips looked startled to see us. Marcy. Fielding what? Harper. We're here about the Fielding Family Medical Fund. May we see your records? Marcy frowned and disappeared into a back room. Minutes later, she returned with a single ledger book, handwritten entries documenting monthly disbursements for Emily Fielding treatments, totaling $1.8 million. But every payment stopped abruptly 7 months ago. Me. Who authorized these last? The signature looks like John's. Marcy nodded. He picked it up himself, said he'd handle future invoices directly. Me. So your fund ceased as soon as his personal accounts ran dry? Marcy, quietly. That's all I know. As we left, Jake whispered, We've confirmed the missing millions funded Emily's care, but they vanished before the final treatments. That evening, Mom, June, and I gathered at Uncle Robert's house. The table held lasagna and salad, but tension overshadowed the meal. Mom. How could he leave her without help? June. He must have thought another plan would come through. Me. John gambled on a miracle cure that never arrived and vanished, leaving Emily and everyone else stranded. Uncle Robert, a retired banker, folded his hands. We need to ensure Emily's treatments continue and hold him accountable. Mom nodded firmly. Then tomorrow, we go to Tucson and demand records from the Oncology Trust. In Tucson, we track down Henderson Oncology Trust, a nonprofit founded to finance innovative leukemia research and patient care. Its office occupied a gleaming medical complex. We met Dr. Angela Henderson, the Trust's founder and CEO. Dr. Henderson, I'm so sorry for your mother's loss. The Trust never received John's wire transfers, so we redirected our grants to other patients, me. But John's records show millions meant for Emily. Dr. Henderson exhaled. Our compliance team detected his sequences, but they were flagged as fraudulent. We reported him to the state AG, but funds were never recovered. Mom. He knew we'd never notice until years later. Dr. Henderson. We had to protect other patients from a misused fund. I wish we could have helped Emily. Dr. Henderson's apology stung. John's deceit had hurt dozens more than just our family. Returning to Mom's house, we sat around her kitchen table with the ledgers, memos, and complaint drafts. A thought struck me. What about Grandma's 401k? John had recommended rolling it over into a managed annuity, signed by Grandma's shaky handwriting. Where did those funds go? I logged into Grandma's old retirement portal. It too was empty. No transfers matched John's statements. I dug deeper through archive statements. A final quiet rollover, then nothing. Me. He wiped out Grandma's nest egg too. Mom. She always trusted him. Me. He stole from 3 generations. That night, I lay awake weighing our next steps. The civil suit could reclaim Mom's and Grandma's funds and potentially penalize John. But criminal charges might leave Emily without her only advocate. We needed a path that balanced justice with compassion. I drafted a plan. Negotiate a plea arrangement. John would admit wrongdoing, provide full accounting, and commit any remaining assets to Emily's care. Set up a medical trust, a court-supervised fund ensuring ongoing treatments funded from recovered assets. Pursue criminal restitution. Seek federal restitution orders matched to asset recovery, but ask prosecutors for leniency in sentencing if John complied. I shared it with Harper, who nodded. A balanced approach, justice with a safety net. Mom, resolute, whispered, "Make him pay for all of us." With the final evidence secured, bank ledgers, trust records, and failed payment acknowledgments, we prepared to present our negotiated terms to both the civil court and federal prosecutors. In the morning, John's fate would be decided and Emily's future secured. Update 3. The morning after our Cleveland and Tucson expeditions, our legal team assembled via video call with U.S. Attorney Marissa Delgado and Harper Burke. We laid out our proposal, plea agreement. John Fielding admits to wire fraud, money laundering, and misappropriation of at least $4 million belonging to 3 families. Asset accounting. He provides full forensic accounting of all diverted funds, domestic and offshore. Medical trust funding. All recovered assets, plus any remaining personal holdings of John, are placed into a court-supervised medical trust for Emily's ongoing leukemia treatments. Sentencing recommendation. In light of his cooperation and the humanitarian motive, Emily's illness, prosecutors recommend a reduced sentence, no more than 2 years, with eligibility for early release contingent on Emily's care fund adequacy. AUSA Delgado. This strikes the balance between accountability and compassion. We'll file the plea papers today. Mom exhaled in relief. Thank you for seeing her side. That afternoon, Harper and I drafted the Fielding Medical Trust documents. The trust's beneficiaries, Emily Fielding for her treatments, and, if any funds remained, the Henderson Oncology Trust to aid other leukemia patients. A 3-member board, Mom, Dr. Henderson, and an independent trust officer would oversee distributions. Once signs were in place, Judge Klein signed the trust order. All recovered assets from civil restitution and criminal forfeiture shall be held within the Fielding Medical Trust. Disbursements made upon presentation of medical invoices for Emily's care. The judge's signature felt like a lifeline thrown across a chasm. Justice for Mom, security for Emily. Even as the trust took shape, Jake uncovered one more hidden resource. Late that evening, he sent a text. Check Grandma's policy. She took out a secret-term life insurance with your dad as beneficiary. Perplexed, I ransacked our parents' files and found the policy. Dated 5 years after Dad's death, purchased under John's counsel and never mentioned. The face value, $500,000. Premiums had been paid sustainably. Me, John hid Grandma's insurance from us? Mom, eyes wide, examined the policy. He said it was to protect the family. I never thought to ask where that money would go. Me, we can add this to Emily's trust. Mom nodded. She deserves every bit. We drafted an amendment to the medical trust, folding in the $500,000 death benefit upon Grandma's passing, guaranteeing Emily's lifelong care. John's confession hearing. 2 days later, John's change of plea hearing convened in federal court. Dressed in a Navy suit, shorn of the gaunt desperation a week before, he stood beside his attorney, his sister Emily, in the gallery, pale but hopeful. Judge Klein. Mr. Fielding, how do you plead to count 1, wire fraud, count 2, money laundering? John, guilty, Your Honor. He then recounted on the stand. John, I diverted my client's funds, my mother's, Ms. Reynolds's, and others, to pay for my sister's experimental treatments overseas. I believed no price was too high. I apologize to all I betrayed. I accept responsibility and will make full restitution. His remorse resonated. Even AUSA Delgado nodded approvingly. Judge Klein, you will be sentenced on March 15th. Until then, you are remanded to home confinement with electronic monitoring. As he exited, Emily rushed to embrace him, a fragile reconciliation amid pain. After court, Jake pulled me aside. There's more. He held up a USB drive. Jake, Fielding Confidential contains an earlier memo, dated 2 years ago, detailing John's plan. But there's a second author, your father's former partner, Robert Nash. My heart lurched. Robert Nash had been Dad's best friend and business partner, long before John's tenure. Me. He conspired? Jake nodded. The memo outlined setting up offshore entities, well before Emily's diagnosis. John just expanded the scheme. Shock, then anger. Dad's friend, our godfather, had plotted to siphon our grandmother's legacy and multiple client accounts, using John to execute years later. Me. We need to confront Nash. That evening, I confronted Mom and June with the USB and the Nash revelation. Me. Mom, John wasn't alone. Robert Nash engineered the initial structure. Mom covered her mouth. My God, he was like a brother to your father. Me. He betrayed us too. We must include him in our suit. Mom nodded grimly. We'll extend civil claims to Nash and seek criminal referral. Our family's pain deepened, but we steeled ourselves. Justice must be blind to friendship. With Nash implicated, Harper filed an amended civil complaint, adding Robert Nash and his shell company, Nash Legacy Holdings, as defendants. Simultaneously, AUSA Delgado's team prepared a second criminal referral for Nash's role in conspiracy and money laundering. As cameras and reporters swarmed outside the courthouse, Mom looked at me, resolve shining in her eyes. Mom, this family secret nearly destroyed us. Now we expose them all. We steeled for the final legal battles, knowing that beyond restitution for Emily, we were cleansing our family's legacy of its darkest sin. Update 4. 2 weeks after adding Nash to the complaint, our team flew to Phoenix, Nash's last known address. Dressed in a crisp suit, Nash greeted us in his law office's wood-paneled conference room, alongside his high-priced attorney, Marcus Layton. Camille, Mr. Nash, please state your name for the record. Nash Cooley. Robert Thomas Nash, senior partner, Nash & Greer. Camille, are you aware of the shell companies Maple Ridge Holdings and Nash Legacy Holdings? Nash, I provided legal advice on formation but was not involved in daily operations. I leaned forward. Your memo to John Fielding outlines setting up those entities years before Emily's diagnosis. Why? Nash's veneer cracked. He glanced at Layton, then sighed. Nash, your father and I planned structured trusts as a legacy vehicle, never intended for personal diversion. Camille, yet you advised John on misusing those trusts to funnel client funds, ours included. Nash closed his eyes. I regret my involvement. Back in New York, Jake obtained an audio recording from a colleague who'd overheard a 2018 phone call between Nash and Fielding discussing funding gaps and offshore buffers. When played in court, Nash's admission confirmed his active role. Nash recorded. We'll need layers of shell companies so no one traces the distributions back to us. Faced with incontrovertible proof, Nash's attorney conceded. Layton, my client will cooperate fully, produce all records and testify truthfully. With Nash on record, our case gained unprecedented momentum. Armed with depositions from John, the nominee director, and Nash, Camille called opposing counsel to negotiate a global settlement. Total restitution, $5.5 million. Sources, John's personal assets, Grandma's life insurance, Nash's settlement, payment of $1 million. Distribution, $3 million to the Fielding Medical Trust, $1 million to Henderson Oncology Trust, $1.5 million to Suncrest Research, and defrauded investors. At the mediation table, Nash's wallet thinned and John's resignation from advisory positions cemented the deal. The final agreement signed, cameras flashed as we emerged victorious. That evening, Mom and I returned to our childhood home. In the living room, she placed a photo of Dad and Nash on the mantel. Mom, he was like a brother. Me, he betrayed us. Tears shimmered as Mom touched the frame. But we survived. We shared a silent embrace. Grief and relief entwined. With restitution funded and legal battles concluded, we disbanded the war room and began rebuilding. Mom worked with Dr. Henderson to ensure Emily's care and fund future research. I helped Harper secure a charitable foundation in Dad's name, the Reynolds Family Legacy Fund, dedicated to honest financial advice for seniors. Update 5. With the global settlement finalized, we turned our attention to ensuring our family's ordeal spurred enduring good. In Dad's memory, Mom and I co-founded the Reynolds Family Legacy Fund, a nonprofit dedicated to transparent financial guidance for seniors, offering free workshops on spotting scams and managing retirement savings, medical assistance grants for families facing catastrophic illness without adequate insurance, research scholarships at Suncrest Medical Institute, funding promising leukemia studies in Emily's name. On a crisp spring morning, we held the inaugural gala at the restored Reynolds homestead. Dr. Henderson gave a moving keynote on leukemia breakthroughs. Emily, buoyed by new treatments, walked on stage, her gait still tentative but her smile radiant. Emily, thanks to your trust and tenacity, I'm not defined by this disease. You gave me hope. The room erupted in applause. Mom dabbed her eyes. I squeezed her hand. 2 months later, Emily celebrated her first major remission milestone. We gathered at the hospital's garden, blossoms framing a small fountain. She released a butterfly, symbolizing transformation and freedom. Emily, this is more than a medical victory. It's proof that love and justice can heal. Victor Hale, attending as a guest sponsor of the Legacy Fund, toasted her courage. Our family, once fractured by betrayal, stood united, stronger and wiser. Determined to close the chapter on financial exploitation, the Legacy Fund launched Project Watchdog, collaborating with regulatory bodies to create a public registry of certified, vetted financial advisors, publish annual red flag reports on emerging fraud patterns, advocate for legislation strengthening penalties on nominee director abuses. At a town hall in Cleveland, Mom addressed senior citizens. Mom, I lost my life savings once. Today I share my story so no one else endures that pain. Her words resonated across communities, empowering thousands to take proactive steps, personal healing and forgiveness. Meanwhile, John Fielding, fulfilling his plea agreement, visited Emily monthly, sometimes offering medical updates, sometimes silent support. He worked off his restitution through community service for the Legacy Fund, teaching workshops on financial ethics. One afternoon at the fund's office, he approached me. John, thank you for sparing me total ruin. Seeing this work, it means more than any sentence. I nodded. You made a terrible choice, but you helped us fix it. He bowed his head. I hope you can forgive me. Me. I have. Your remorse helped build something lasting. His relief was palpable. A man redeemed through accountability. That summer, we hosted a reunion at our grandparents' lakeside cottage, long abandoned but restored by Legacy Fund grants to support at-risk youth camps. Family members, old friends, and Emily's medical team gathered for a weekend of boating, storytelling, and laughter. Under lantern-lit pines, Mom raised a glass. Mom. To resilience, to justice, and to family, unbroken at last. We joined the toast, the lake reflecting stars and our renewed bonds. In the end, a stolen inheritance in a fractured family forged a movement, illuminating how courage, compassion, and unwavering resolve can count every broken fortune back into hope.